This conference will now be recorded.
So in our previous class, we're working with declarative rules, right? So there will be 6 declarative rules, that is declare expression, declare on change, declare index, uh, and declare pages. Let me write. So declare expression, declare constraints, on change, trigger, index, and declare pages. So that's secondary. And first three belongs to first three all the time dealing with the properties only, and declare index and declare trigger will be dealing with the databases. So whenever database tables are being updated or modified, then these rules will be triggered. So all the time it has to be monitored one corresponding thing. It might be the property or the database tables. In this case, whenever the value is getting updated, declarative network will be triggered out and it will be triggering the corresponding rule. So based on this, execution will be happening. So there will not be any case of referring this particular rule anywhere. Just defining this rule will be enough. So that is the important concept of declarative network. Okay. So in this process, we have discussed about declare constraints and we have discussed about declare expression also. Okay. So if you observe all these rules, all the declarative rules will be having only backward chaining, and declarative expression rule will be having like both forward chaining as well as the backward chaining. Okay. So earlier we were working on example where we can able to obtain the value of age by just providing the value of calendar. So date of birth, if the value we just provide, automatically age will be calculated. So we can able to just identify the value for each and every date. So for each and every date there should be one value. So with corresponding to January 1st, 1970, there should be one value captured for that. If we just identify value for each and every date value, then we can able to identify the difference. So once we get the difference, we can able to get the number of days or the number of months or the number of years also. So that is what we have discussed. And now I'll tell you one more sample example where we can able to work with the calendars, the same thing. So in a previous example, when we just select the date of birth should not be future. So that can be restricted using edit validate rule. And once the value is selected in the date of birth calendar, automatically age value will be calculated in terms of in years. Now we'll work on another requirement where if the user is selecting start date, treatment start date, and the treatment end date, so he can able to select start date and end date. So usually we'll be having this claiming process within 90 days only. Okay, if the customer is having the start date before 90 days, I mean if the number of days are covered more than 90, we will not be accepting his claim. He should be just going for the claiming process within 90 days. So that is what we can able to do. And if we just want to identify the difference between start date and date, even then we can able to do. So now we'll be working on one requirement where in the hospital values, if we just selecting start date and if we selecting end date, automatically I want to show one label behind this showing that difference in the days. Okay. So if it is greater than 90 days, I should be showing one error message, else I need not show that. So that is the thing we'll discuss. So let me create one expression rule for that. So it has to be monitored with target property. What should be the target property? So if I just select start date and end date, automatically one target property, that is the difference in the days. So the days difference is 9 days or 90 days or any number of days. So that has to be calculated based on the input properties. Here start date will be considered as an input and end date will be considered as an input. And I should be creating one target property. So target property here, I should be showing the difference between these 2 days, right? So let me create one new property that will be considered as a target for me. I'm giving something like number of days. So click create and open. So save this. So this should be my target property. Okay, create and open. So this is the target property, and target property has to be calculated based on the input value changes. So let me add the two input values, that is start date and end date. And before that, I have to get the date value of the start date as well as the end date. So let me make use of date value. So if we are familiar, we can directly search and use that. So it should be calculated with hospitalization dot treatment start date. Okay, so there will be one value coming for this. We can able to just search, we can able to test it also. And I want to make the difference between the start value as well as the end value, right? So let me make use of the date difference. So this is already discussed, so that's why I'm going a bit fast. So here I want to go for this date value as well as date value of treatment end date, right? And I want to go in terms of an days now, so I can go for capital D. So earlier we have seen capital Y, that there we will be getting the difference in terms of an years. So let me test the start date. I'm giving it like this one, and end date I'm giving it today. So what is the days difference? 63. Okay, so this will be triggered automatically if I'm changing either start date or end date. And if it is greater than 90, I should be throwing some error message. So that is my expectation. So you can save this. That's it. You need not call this particular expression rule anywhere. Now open that section rule and make some modifications. I want to add the same label here, and before that we can able to go for paragraph rule, so that you can able to work on. Or let me create that also quickly. So this is the paragraph I want to create. Number of days different, something like this. So open this. So you can able to insert the property. So number of days will be of text format. So understanding, no? So I know that I'm going fast in this example, but it should be useful for you. It's understanding for you, no?
Yes, sir.
Days difference is this one, and claims more than 90 days is not valid, something like this. Okay, so the whole thing will be static message, and this will be dynamic all the time. So we can able to save this. So now I have to show this error submit this also. And now this has to be visible only if days difference is greater than 90. You can able to go for visibility. So if number of days is greater than or equal to 91, let us say. So if it is equal to 90 also, we should be processing this, right? So I'm saving it. Submit this also and save it. So let me create the new work object ID. So here we can able to select any value. So this is also working fine. Here we are comparing the value with the date of birth as well as the present date. So that is and that is where we are getting number of years also. Now I'm trying to calculate the difference between start date and end date in terms of days. So if I select something like this, June 1st, okay, it is comparing with the blank value. So that is the error message we'll be getting it now. You can ignore that. So I'm selecting today's date. So just tab out. So we're not getting anything. Okay. So just go to clipboard and identify whether we are getting this number of days value calculated or not. So number of days we are getting exactly the perfect one, meaning declare expression rule is executed successfully. So whatever the changes we are making, expression rule is executed successfully, but there is nothing error message shown. So that will be as issue of refreshing, right? So let me add refresh for this also. For both the fields, we have to add refresh. So once you make changes here, you need not go to Designer Studio and make anything there. So automatically changes will be reflected there. If you go back to the Designer Studio and by mistake, if we just click on save, what it will be doing? It will be ignoring all the changes what you are making it from the portal. Why? Because here, so this is not getting refreshed. So here, if we just check here, so not this one. So if we just see, it will not be having any refresh applicable. You can able to see here. So there will not be any refresh applicable. Now, if we just refresh, already changes are made from the portal end. If we just make the refresh and we can see that changes are applicable. So if we just come to Designer Studio and click on save, those changes will be lost. You will be overwriting the changes. So you should be very cautious in that. So I'm selecting some value here. I'm selecting something like this. So even then we are not getting. Okay. So declare expression rule is perfect, right? Your page. So we can able to see this value is getting updated. Let me check again whether refresh is happening or not. Oh, I'm sorry. If it is greater than 91 only, we should be getting the message, right? Sorry. So now we can able to see. So days difference is 183 and claims more than this value. So in this way, we can able to identify the difference. Okay. Suppose if you want to get this value in terms of months or years, then you can able to have it like capital M or capital Y. Okay. Here we can able to achieve in this way. Clear? So here we can able to achieve the here likewise we can able to monitor n number of values. So in this case we are having just two input properties. If I have suppose like 10 input properties, and for each and every property getting changed, declare expression rule has to be executed. So in this case, if I just enter one value, we can able to see value getting updated in the clipboard, meaning declare expression has been executed on change of input property 1 as well as on change of input property 2. If I have 10 properties, if I'm trying to change the 10 property values, then declare expression rule will be executed for 10 times. Okay, that's for sure. So this is the concept of forward chaining. So forward chaining meaning target value will be automatically calculated whenever the input values are being changed. So this concept is called as a forward chain. If there is something like forward, we can able to make the execution to reverse to make it like a backward chaining also. So what are all the declarative rules we are discussing? Everything will be by default acting like an backward chaining except this declare expression rule. So declare expression rule is having a speciality to act like in forward chaining as well as the backward chaining. Okay. So now we'll discuss something about forward chaining, sorry, backward chaining. So if I open any of the constraint rule, so here it is all the time monitoring forward values, right? Sorry, all the time monitoring only input properties. If input properties are getting changed, automatically target property is getting updated. So this phenomena is called as a forward chaining. And if you want to make this particular declarative expression rule to act like a backward chaining, then you have to change the tracking here. So if we go to the change tracking option, so there we can able to make this behavior to be changed. So this target property data will be calculated. So this is the heading. So target property data has to be calculated whenever input changes. So by default we'll be having the value like whenever input changes in the drop down. Okay, if you're having this value selected, then target value will be calculated whenever input values are changed. If I have n number of inputs, any of the input is getting changed, target value will be changed. So this behavior is called as a forward chain. And if we click on this down arrow, we can able to have other options also. Okay, suppose if I'm using something like whenever used. So by just seeing this, we have to understand this. Whenever used meaning it will be, this drop down will be always talking about target property only. So whenever used, so meaning whenever this target property is used. Okay, now let me tell you one small example. Suppose if I want to have something like total is equal to property 1 plus property 2. Okay, suppose in the screen 1, let us say this is screen 1. In screen 1, I'm trying to make use of so property 1 as well as property 2. Okay, in screen 2 or S2, in the screen 2 I'm using property 1 plus property 2, and even in the screen 3 I'm using the same, and in the screen 4 I'm using total. In the screen 5 I'm using total property. So I have one declare expression created for this expression like total is equal to property 1 plus property 2, and in the screen number 1 I'm trying to make use of property 1 as well as property 2, and in the screen 2 also the same, screen 3 also the same, and in the screen 4 I'm trying to make use of the target value, and in screen 5 also I'm trying to make use target value. Now if I'm trying to have this as whenever changed, sorry, whenever input value changed. Okay, so meaning if I'm trying to make this as a forward chaining meaning whenever property 1 or property 2, if either of these two are getting changed, then automatically total has to be calculated based on the declare expression running. Okay, so now in this now if I'm trying to make change the value of property 1 in the screen number 1, then automatically total value will be calculated, and if I'm trying to change the property 2, then total value will be calculated. So after we submitting the screen number 3, declare expression rule will be calculated for 6 times. So total value will be updated for 6 times. Okay, here it will be calculated, this one all the time. By the end of screen number 3, we can able to see this declare expression rule executed for 6 times. And in the screen number 4, so total value will be showing as part of the clipboard what we have. In clipboard, if I have something like 5 plus 5 equal to 10, so total value will be showing like 10. Here declare expression will not be working, and here also declare expression will not be working. Why? Because declare expression has to monitor only input properties in this case. If I'm having something like whenever input changes, so declare expression will be executed 6 times only till screen number 3. In screen number 4 or 5, declare expression will not be changed. Okay, now that is clear, right? I'm trying to go for backward chaining, something like this. So that too in backward chaining, I'm trying to go for whenever used. So when used meaning what should be being used here? All the time this drop down will be dealing only with the target values. So when used meaning when target value is used. Okay, suppose let me consider the same example. So if I have this declare expression defined like this, so in the screen number 1, property 1 will be changed and property 2 will be changed. So do we have any declare expression rule executed now or not? If If it is true, then how many times it will be executed? You have to answer now. So did you understand my question? So here property 1 and property 2 are the input values. And now I'm trying to have one declare expression, and the target and in the change tracking I'm defining it like an whenever used. Whenever used meaning it will be just checking about the target value. So here in the screen number 1 we are not using this target value. So declare expression value will not be executed in the screen number 1. Even if I'm changing property 1 and property 2, declare expression will not be executed. And in the screen 2 declare expression will not be executed. Okay, and in the screen 3 declare expression will not be executed. Okay, and in the screen 4 declare expression will be executed. Clear? And in the screen 5 declare expression will be executed. So whenever I am using this target value, so if I'm just having this like in whenever used, meaning wherever I'm trying to use this, if I'm trying to use in the screen number 4 and the screen number 5, only these 2 times declare expression will be executed. And when we're making this to be executed as a forward chaining, so this will be monitoring only input properties. Now it has to monitor only target properties. So in this whole process it has to execute for only 2 times. Okay, if I'm trying to go for something like this, when used if no value is present, so meaning it has to monitor the target property whenever it is used, and if it is not having any value only. Okay, so if I'm trying to go for like this, so when used if value is blank. So if I'm trying to go for the screen number 1, in screen number 1 we'll be entering one values for property 1 as well as property 2. Since these are not property target values, there will not be any execution of declare expression, that's for sure. And in the screen number 2 when trying to make use of property 1 as well as property 2, and even here also there is no target property, expression rule will not be executed. And in the screen number 3, okay, in the screen number 3 also we'll be having property 1 and property value updated. These values will be updated in the clipboard. Okay, even then declare expression will not be executed. If the declare expression is not getting executed, there will not be any value like total is equal to property 1 plus property 2 in the clipboard. So after we enter in the screen number 4 also, total value will be blank only, meaning this particular declare expression will not be working even in the screen number 4. So screen number 4 we have the target value. I'm sorry. So if there is no value, right, in the screen number 4 we are having this target value and it is having blank property. So meaning declare expression will be working in the screen number 4. And if we just come to screen number 5, so there will be one value assigned in the clipboard for this total property. After this screen number 4 we'll be having the value assigned in the target in the clipboard. So declare expression will not be working in the screen number 5, it will be working only in the screen number 4. Why? Because in screen number 4 I am using this, so when used, so this is satisfying. And if no value is present, so for sure there will not be any value present in the screen number 4, but in the screen number 5 we will be having the value what is updated in the screen number 4 in the clipboard. Okay, so declare expression rule will not be executed in the screen number 5 and only executed in the screen number 4. Any doubts? Understanding, right? Getting confused anywhere?
No, Chandra.
Okay, and suppose, as I told you, whenever used if no value is present, it has to be executed only in the screen number 4, not in the screen number 5. After screen number 4, if I'm trying to go for utility shape and if I'm trying to remove the property of total, okay, if I'm trying to make the total value as blank or something, okay, if I'm trying to make total is equal to blank, then by the time it is coming to the screen number 5, values, I mean property is getting used. Okay, target property is used and there should not be any value, right, as per the utility. Then declare expression rule will be executed in the screen number 4 as well as in the screen number 5. So the thumb rule here is wherever we are making this target value used and if there is no value present in the clipboard, so then declare expression rule will be executed. Okay, so if I'm just going for when used, so this will not be mostly used, mostly whenever input it will be, we'll be making use of this in the forward chaining only. So this will be just for your information. So when used, if I'm using this, so when used if no value is present, so this is already discussed, right? So when used if property is missing, so meaning if the property itself is missing from the clipboard, then this will be executed. Okay, So in the screen number 1, it should not be executed. That's for sure. Screen number 2 will not be executed. And in the screen number 3, it will not be executed. And in the screen number 4, we will be having this target prop. We'll be having this target property in the clipboard. Either it is having blank or some value that is secondary. So this has to be executed if property itself is missing. So earlier, if the property is present and if it is having some blank value, it will be executed. Now if the property itself is missing, then it will be executing this declare expression. Okay, if we go for property remove, then this property will be completely removed from the clipboard. Then in the screen number 5, we can able to have this declare expression triggered. Okay, clear, right? So these all things, if you want to read in detail, you can able to use this Pega help guide. So you can able to get elaborately for about each and everything. So this is all about forward chaining and backward chaining. Any doubts? Okay. So any other declarative rules will be acting like in forward chaining. Okay. So all these will be acting like in forward chaining. Declare expression has a phenomenon to act like in backward chaining also. That is very important. In interviews, they'll ask you these type of questions. So in the real time, we may or may not use this. That's secondary, but in interviews, they'll ask you. Okay. So now we'll discuss about declare on change. So declare expression is done, declare constraints are done. Now we'll discuss about declare on change. As I told you, all these three will be dealing with the properties only. So here we'll be defining the properties like first name, input properties as well as the target properties. And in the constraints will also we'll be defining the properties, and declare on change also deals with the properties only. So if the properties are defined, then automatically whenever the value is getting changed, the declarative rule will be triggered. So it might be declare on change, then it will be running the activity, and if it is like declare expression, it will be performing some operations as per that, and if it is constraint, it will be throwing some error messages. So that is the thing. So now we'll be working on declare on change. So the importance of this declare on change is, so we'll be just defining one property. So if I just give something like property 1 defined with declare on change. So what it has to do, whenever that property 1 value is getting changed, it might be in the 100 screens. So wherever we use this property, and if the property is defined with this declare on change, if the value is getting changed, automatically this declare on change rule will be executed. So what will be there in this declare on change? We'll be running one activity, that's it. And within this activity, whatever the thing we want to make, we can able to do that. Okay. So now we'll be working on one requirement. So based on this, you'll be getting very clear idea. So clear so far, right? No issues, no?
Yes.
You also know?
Yes, Chandra.
Okay. So we have already implemented our hospital selection screen, right? So there, in order to select our hospital, what we'll be doing, we'll be selecting our region value, and based on that state values will be populated, and based on that hospital values will be populated, right? So instead of this, we can able to go for one approach where we can able to have one text box, where in the text box user can able to directly enter his hospital code if he's aware. If he's not aware, he can able to go with this approach, and if he's aware, he can directly give the hospital code. He's giving something like AP1, then whatever the hospital value, hospital name that has been defined uh, in the data table, that has to be coming automatically. So here we will be having one text box and one normal value that has to be displayed for the hospital name, and whatever the value that has been entered in the hospital code, if we just click on tab out, okay, meaning on changing, if we just click give an on change value for this, one activity will be triggered. So in this activity, what we have to do, we have to perform again obj open. So within this obj open, whatever the values we are passing in this like AP1 or so, that has to be passed as an input to the state data table, and based on that it has to pull out the values. Okay, all the time it has to get only single instance, right? So we'll be going for obj open in this case. Okay, we can able to achieve the same without going for declare on change also, but if we go for declare on change, then wherever we use this property, everywhere this particular thing will be applicable. So that is the advantage. So now my requirement here is I have to add one more section at the bottom where I have to put one text box for the hospital value and one more text box for displaying the hospital name, but that should not be editable. So hospital name should be all the time read only. Okay. So I should be creating two properties for hospital code and hospital name. So earlier we have already created one data class for all these, right? So I can able to make use of this particular data class by creating one page now. Okay, so before that, let me save as this into my latest version. So this is version number 2, create and open. So let me create one page just to inherit the properties from the data class. Ask code for declare on change, something like this. So create and open. So this should be page property. So this should be referring to the data class, hospital data class. So save this. So now we can able to have one dynamic layout at the bottom, and let me add some heading to this. So I can able to have two text boxes. So let me make it 2 by 2. So this should be for the hospital code. Okay, and this should be for hospital name. So I'm trying to make this read only all the time. So this should not be editable, right? I'm trying to make this read only all the time. Submit this. So now on clicking on this, I mean, we have to write one activity, and before that we have to create one declare on change. So first let me create one activity. I'm saving it as of now. So to create declare on change, we have to call activity. No, for that I'm trying to create one new activity. So what I want to do with this activity, I have to pull the values, right? Hospital declare on change, something like this. So create and open. So first thing I have to create one new page. This is already known. So this is already we have learned. So this will be just like a practice for you. So let me create one page, temp page, referring to this class. So that is CHG data hospital, right? So once the page has been created, I have to go for obj open. So obj open onto this same page. Whatever the instance I'm getting, I want to get it on this page. So from which class I have to get it? I have to get it from CHG data hospital. So why? Because in the data table we have directly created hospital code and the hospital name. Okay. So what should I be getting? So hospital code should be getting it from the primary page. So primary dot. So the thing what we have to understand here is, so during runtime, whatever the value that has been entered here, so that has to be passed as an input to the obj open. So that is the thing I'm trying to do. If I just enter any value and click on submit, and the value will be first initially stored into clipboard. So what will be the reference for this? Primary dot hospital, the page name dot hospital code, right? So that is the value holding holding that, and that will be passed as an input to the hospital code of this page. So this page is referring to this class. So getting my point, right? So once the obj open has been executed successfully, so the instance for this hospital code will be stored onto this page. So once I get the data ready onto this page, what I have to do? I have to get the value here. Okay. So from that page, what I'm trying to get here, that has to be copied into this one. So hospital name value has to be copied from the stem page. So for that, I'm going for property set. So this is already done. So that is the reason you should be understanding. So property set. So I want to set the property of this one, right? So I want to set the property of this one. So this will be like primary dot that page name dot hospital name. So primary dot hospital name is equal to what should be the value? Whatever the value we are getting from this instance, that is like temp page dot hospital name. Clear? So let me save this. And remember that if the activity is trying to be called from declare on change, it should be of on change category. So go to security tab and don't forget to change this to on change category. So save this. So activity has been designed. Now we have to create one on change rule, and that on change has to be defined with the property and it has to be defined with the activity. So on change rule can also be created under decision rule. So declare on change. Something like this. So create and open. So this is how declare on change rule will be looking like. So it will be watching the properties. So if I just define the properties here, so whenever the property value is, whenever the properties are getting changed, I can able to have multiple properties to be watched. So if any of the properties getting changed, then automatically the activities will be executed. Okay, if I'm defining any of the when condition here, so if the when condition is true, then activity in this true statement will be executed. If the when condition is getting failed, whatever the activity we are defining under this false section will be executed. Okay, so if you're not defining anything, by default true value will be, this activity will be executed. Okay, so here what are the properties to be watched? So I want to watch the hospital code property. So whenever this is getting changed, right, so this value has to be watched all the time. So the reference for this will be hospitalization dot hosp code, right? So this has to be watched all the time, and when this value is getting changed, this declare on change rule has to be executed, and it has to run one activity. So what is the activity? So this is our activity, right? If it is not populating, you can just simply copy and paste, no issues. So save this. So now let me create the new work object ID and just check. So this is how our section rule will be looking like. We can able to go for this selection or here also. If I'm entering something like AP1, so just tab out. It is not working. Okay, meaning we missed adding like refresh. So go here and add refresh for this. So before that, if you are missing in the refresh or not, we have to just check in the clipboard whether we are getting this value or not. If you are getting the value here, so there is no issue in the declare on change as well as the activity execution. So if we are not getting it here, we are doing some mistake. So it has been created on one page, right? So this is the page, and hospital value and hospital code both are not coming. So let me refresh it first. Meaning declare on change rule itself is not working. So let me add refresh. Once the value is getting changed in the clipboard, only declare on change rule will be executed. So the value is not at all getting updated, like AP1 is not being seen in the clipboard. So there is no refresh applicable. So let me make refresh here. Giving something like AP1 tab out. Even then we're not getting. So let me refresh this. Okay, so there is no such value here, it seems. So obj open is getting failed, right? So let me open that table. What is this? Where is the data gone? I think we are using this data table for report definition and for other things also, right? So why is the data gone here? Are we not using this data table anywhere? Okay, so that is not our requirement. Let me add one thing here.
Okay.
Something like sample and state code. Okay, so I'm giving something like this. So my requirement is to get some values from here only. What is that error message? Hospital code instance already exists. Okay, I'm saving it. Yeah. So data is there, but it is not showing, right? So we're getting the data. Now we're getting see. So maybe I have to log off and log in. So it's already more than 2 weeks after I restarting the machine, maybe. Okay, so we can able to see the output, right? So what are the values we enter? Okay, we're getting the output perfectly. Meaning on just changing the value, we can able to see this value is getting updated in the clipboard, and from there we can able to get this declare on change executed and we can able to have this activity executed. So there we can able to make the modifications here. So clear? So we have to, wherever we are using this particular property, automatically this declare on change rule will be applicable, and we have to refresh it. Don't forget to refresh this. And can we achieve the same without having this declare on change? Why? Because if I just click on tab out, so if you just check here, so instead of we calling in the declare expression, we can able to do the same from here also, right? So I can able to go for change, and here we can able to run the activity. So the same thing I can able to do. If I just call the activity what I have just created, even then the requirement output will be same. On changing the value, activity will be executed and we'll be getting the same output. But the important advantage here is if I'm trying to make use of this property in 100 places, then I have to run this activity for 100 times. I have to call that activities. Activity will be executed for 100 times. That's secondary. But I have to call the activities for those many times. That is not required. So that is the only thing. So this seems to be very minor advantage. And if you want to have it like in multiple properties, then we can able to fill the advantage in this declare on change. So all the time it will be monitoring the properties that are to be watched. And whenever the value is getting changed, we can able to have this value updated with the activity values. So clear? So can you implement this one? So there is some other thing left now here. So if I'm just entering some dummy value and click on tab out, then instead of we showing this, I want to show some error message. Okay, so that error message has to be visible. So don't show the error message directly using validations or so. So why? Because we have already worked with validations. So you try to work on like property set messages and page set messages. As I told you, we can able to set the validations using you can show the error messages using without going for validations also. That is like property set messages or page set messages. You can able to try this, or let me tell you, it will not take more time. Why? Because this will be very important in the real times also. So let me make modifications to the existing activity, and if the obj open is getting failed, so we have already worked on this. So what I have to capture after the obj open, I have to just check for the px method status. If the value is fail, then I have to write one validation. So that is my concept, right? So here after this obj open, we can go for jump statement, and there will be something called step status fail. So if this particular when condition is true, okay, if the step status is true, then what I want to do, I want to show some error messages, right? So for that we can able to go for property set message or page set message. So I have to jump to that particular step. So let me use the jump statement here. So I'm giving something like error, okay, meaning if the when condition is true, if the when condition is true, I have to throw the error message. Else if the when condition is failing, there should not be any execution of the validation messages. Directly normal execution should be happening. So if the when condition is true, I want to jump to the particular step. I will be defining that step here. And if the when condition is failing, I want to continue the whens. Whens meaning these when conditions will be executed if there are anything. Else it will be going to the next step, that is step number 3. So now let me add one more step like error. So whatever the thing I'm trying to jump here, I want to use it here. I want to go for property set property set messages. So what should be the message? We can able to define the hard coded values. So no cost. I'm giving something like this. So using property set messages or page set messages also, you can able to show some error messages. So that can be defined directly like this. Okay. Or let me show you page set message that will be most widely used. We can able to display the both if you set on. So what should be the message? So message should be given in the message tab, and what should be the page? we are using the page, right? Page can be directly primary. Okay, and if I execute this now, what it will be doing, it will be executing the step number 1, step number 2 will be executed successfully, and step number if obj open is failing, it will be jumping to the step number 4. Okay, so that is what expected. Suppose if obj open is not failing, we are getting the correct data, then what it will be doing, it will be executing step number 3, and it will be executing step number 4 also. Why? Because the step number 4 has been defined in the sequence, so step number 4 also be executing. So I don't want to make this error message to be displayed if the obj open is success. Then I can able to make this to be conditionally executed by putting one when condition. Okay, so what should be the when condition? So in the obj open, if in the temp page, if I'm not getting any value here, if this value is blank, then I should be showing the error message, right? So I can just compare this value with this, if it is blank or not. If it is getting blank, then I'll be making this to be executed. So let me put one when condition here. So let me compare the value of that hospital name if it is blank or not. We can able to make use of this particular string value where the value where we can able to compare the values. So if I'm able to go for this equals ignore case, meaning whatever the value that is like an hospital name, if it is like an blank or not. Understanding, no, both of you? Hospital name is blank. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to just put one when condition, and within this when condition I'm trying to just check whether this hospital name is blank or not. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so if this when condition is true, I should be executing this step. Okay, if the when condition is false, I don't want to execute this page set messages, so I want to skip this step. So let me skip it and save it as of now. So let me create new work object ID. So understanding now, both of you?
Yes, Chandra.
Uma, you also know?
Yes, Chandra.
So I'm giving something like AP1. So we're getting the correct input. Now I'm giving some dummy data. We're not getting. So let me trace it again. Clear this and tab out. Tab out. We should be seeing this. So we can able to see obj open is failing. That is expected. So obj open is failing and it is directly jumping to the step number 4. We can able to see step number 3 is skipped off. Why? Because if it is failing, I want to jump to step number 4. So step number 4 has been started execution successfully. There we are going for property set message, and this message is not being executed. So if it is getting executed, this step is getting executed, then we can able to have the error message visible, right? But we are not seeing any error message, meaning this step number 4 is not getting executed. So let us check. We can able to see this when condition is getting false. Here this when condition should be true. Okay, the hospital name is blank, then this when condition will be true. So but here this when condition is showing as false, so meaning hospital name is not blank. So let me click on clipboard or POR page. Let me check for the hospital name. So I'm having hospital name as this one. So in the clipboard I'm having this value. Okay, so for the first time execution, if I just enter the correct value, here we can able to see, right? If I just enter the correct value, earlier I have just given like AP1, then what it is doing, it is setting the property value like hospital name is equal to something like KHGYZ. Okay, now if I'm giving some other value, what it is doing, it is now directly trying to check for the activity, and in this process I'm not clearing this value. So KHGYZ will be there all the time in the clipboard only. So that is the reason this value is not getting updated. So that is the reason. So this when condition is getting failed. Here it is directly checking whether the hospital name is blank or not. But in the clipboard, this is not getting blank. Okay, for the first time, if you're trying to clear, the value is not getting blank here. So that is the reason I should be clearing this property. I should be removing this property all the time. So for that, I can directly go for property remove. So you understood why I'm adding this? So property remove. What is the property I want to remove from the clipboard? I want to remove this property, hospital name. If I just remove this property all the time, then value will be cleared off. So let me execute it now. So now in the clipboard, there will not be any value assigned to this. If we just enter dummy value, for sure, for the first time, we should be getting the error message. Even in the earlier case also, for the first time, it will be executing. Why? Because clipboard will not be having any value. And if we enter some meaningful value and click on tab out, in the earlier case, we will be getting this value and this will be stored permanently in the clipboard. Okay, this will be stored in the clipboard for a longer time. So that is the reason step number 4 of the activity is not getting executed. If I just enter dummy value, tab out. So here if we just trace it, we can able to see the behavior. So here we can able to see, if we just click on tab out, page new is getting executed, step number 2, and step number 3. Step number 3, OBJ open is failing, and it is not executing step number 4 here. So step number 4 has been skipped off. Okay, and step number 5 is executed successful, and this is blank. So that is value, that is a true here. Okay, if the when condition is true only, we have to show the error messages. So that is the concept. Okay. Similarly, we can go for property set messages also. So on which property you want to display that error message? On the host book code, right? So, or on the host name, whatever the thing you want. So save this. Tab out. We can able to see the error message displaying at the property level. Okay. Even at the page level also it will be visible, and this will be visible at the property level. Okay. If we enter some correct input, we can able to see that message is gone. So this is already we have done, and this will be just like in practice for you, like OBJ open. Clear? Any doubts? So these are all about declare properties. I mean declarative rules which are dealing with the properties. So there will be something to be discussed like declare tracker and declare index. So these two will be discussing at the last when we're working with database tables. As I told you, these two will be monitored with the database tables, right? So these are all dealing with the properties. In the next class, we'll discuss about how to design one case type. Okay. So clear? Any doubts?
Yes, Chandra.
Okay.
Yes, Chandra.